Tonight, Disney delays, Liefeld speaks again, and who wants to see the Secret Wars in the MCU? Me on Comic Book Canon! Welcome to Comic Book Canon. It is Friday. This week went by so quickly. I just feel like we were all together last week talking about the things that we love in comic books and pop culture. I am happy to be here today with my co-host and partner, Chris. Chris, how is it going?
It's great. It's been a long week for me, and I'll tell you, man, I'm laughing over here because I'm just so excited to talk about some things today. I'm just soaking in enthusiasm here. And I'm not being sarcastic. I mean it.
You sounded confused when you first came up here, and that confused me, but I feel more confident right now. But I'm pretty confident that this time last year, there was way more to discuss than there is this year. It's been pretty a mild San Diego Comic-Con 2020, wouldn't you say?
Well, and that's the thing, it's like the hesitation of the fact that it may seem like there's not a lot to talk about, but the drama runs thick today, at least. So I think we'll get the job done, and we'll talk about some awesome things regardless.
There's plenty to talk about. Don't take that, as like, oh, there's nothing to talk about. There's still plenty to talk about, but it's not as juicy as it would have been last year. So with that being said, we'll get right into it. On some disappointing news, Disney revealed that they are pushing back a number of their franchises due to the COVID production delays. With that, we have a lot to talk. It affects a lot here, and it's really disappointing to say the least. So we have plenty of Disney delays. First off, we're going to talk Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is moving from November 5th, 2021 to December 17th, 2021. It's not that much of a delay, but it is yet another delay, and that kind of factors into the whole MCU. The MCU as a whole, because everything is connected. Everything is based off of the past movie or TV show now, and they're all interconnected, and these delays are going to affect everything else. So, Chris, with that being said, what are your feelings on the Spider-Man 3 delay? Being delayed by a month and a half.
Yeah. Well, it was already pushed back to the fall from a summer release. So this is a second delay. So we got to take that into consideration as well. And you're right. It's a bummer. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. I love what he's been doing in the MCU, and we got left on a cliffhanger, and we're going to have to wait even longer. So initially, I take the humanistic approach to state, look, these are first world problems. We are living through something to such magnitude that movies being delayed by a few months or whatever it may be is not really a problem at all. But look, we're here for a reason. We're here because we love these things and we cherish them, and they are a big part of our lives. So regardless of what you want to call that, it's saddening and it hurts. And when you talk about how this affects the MCU, absolutely. Everything is so interlocked and interrelated that, Kevin Feige and Squad has a lot of moving pieces going on, and it's not that simple. This one delay can really alter things all across the board for whatever is coming up in the MCU.
That's true. And like, what's going to happen? Like right now, they're planning on releasing 2 shows before the end of the year, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision. For all we don't know anything, because that could have been related to Black Widow. Black Widow could have tied into one of those shows. Eternals could be tying into one of those shows. How does that affect everything else? We don't know. So we haven't even heard anything about if those shows are going to be delayed. The last we heard is like they're still on track to debut fall and winter of this year. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
So I think to your point is it's really the unknown isn't necessarily with the show. Like these shows, most likely in their own right can come out fall and winter. But if Black Widow or Eternals get pushed back again, and they need those to come out in a specific order, then that will relate back to saying, well, shoot, now we can't release Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's exactly. I completely agree. That's exactly what I was saying. I may have not said it the correct way, but yeah, if Black Widow is delayed until 2021, does that affect, Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision? We don't know. Let's hope not.
Yep.
Let's hope everything gets back on track here. I don't see movie theaters opening up anytime soon, so Disney has a tough decision to make. There's no way that they're going to put these billion-dollar properties on their Disney Plus streaming service. I don't think. So maybe there's another alternative. We're all hungry for this content. We're all wanting to see these films. Perspective is needed here because people are really affected all around the world with this pandemic. So, but again, this is our love, and this is what we talk about. Moving on, though, it was also revealed that Star Wars is being delayed as well. There are plans for 3 movies that were supposed to first debut in 2022, but each movie is going to be moving back a year. So the dates now are December 22nd, 2023 for the first film. The second film will be pushed back to December 19th, 2025. And the third film will be delayed until December 17th, 2027. I cannot believe we're talking 7 years down the road, Chris. That is a long time. Also, when it comes to these films, we don't know if they're a trilogy or if they're tied into each other because there's many names that are supposedly involved with these Star Wars films. You have Taika Waititi, who's writing his script now. Is that part of a new trilogy? Is that a standalone film? Is it a film that's not even part of these 3-picture release? Kevin Feige is supposed to be producing a Star Wars film as well. J.D. Dillard signed on for a film, and Rian Johnson. Who knows what's happening with him? But there's so much there's so much unknown here, other than the fact that 3 movies are coming out.
Yeah, I look at it like this. Look, man, I'm not getting any younger. I'm getting old, right? So it's like I want to live my life and experience as much Star Wars as I possibly can. I don't want to push back anymore. So that's one way that I actually do look at it. It's like, man, I want them to keep coming. Obviously, this is just a year. Again, in the grand scheme of things, it is what it is. Hopefully more flexibility with Star Wars delays because it isn't as interwoven as what MCU has going on. Plus, with the MCU, they have a lot more stacked up with the streaming service and the movies that were all in play here. I think when you think about Star Wars, it's a little more loose. But like you said, we don't know how loose because we know 0 details. All we know is that there's a lot to work with. It's not like the Star Wars franchise has to continue after one specific point, like the sequel trilogy or something. They can do Old Republic, New Republic, in between this film and that film. So there's a lot more flexibility there. But you're right. I would really like to know some hard evidence of what these are. But maybe it's a good thing that we as fans don't yet, because I think if we did and we keep hearing more pushbacks, it might kind of make us even more upset. Like, shoot, I really wanted that specific thing to come out then, and now I have to wait even longer. So, hey.
Yeah. Well, B-level Star Wars does bring up a good point that it's cool that Mando season 2 finished filming, so we'll get that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be getting that before the end of the year. That is definitely happening. They're in post-production right now. I believe it's coming in. Actually, I think it may be coming out in September. Need to double check on that. But that's going to quench our thirst a little bit, and I totally forgot about that. Good call, B-level Star Wars. All right, moving on, though, Chris. Again, as we said, there's really not much juicy nuggets that we usually get from a San Diego Comic-Con, but we got a juicy little tidbit from kind of a fan-favorite duo of directors. What? Dive into that first, Chris.
Yeah, man, Russo brothers are making news. They are talking, and the things that they are talking sound really sweet. So Russo brothers have been talking specifically about possibly coming back into the MCU, doing a Secret Wars film. The fact that they're talking about this, it just speaks volumes to me. Again, it is what it is. Russo brothers kind of playfully trolled fans in the past with rumors, but I mean, this is not to take just with a grain of salt. because this is big for them to actually be talking about such a big project. And specifically to what they said about it, in quoting them, stating that this would be a project that would pretty much dwarf Infinity War and Endgame. It would be on such even larger scale. They actually really enjoy the idea of the fact that they would have villains and heroes kind of having to come together to defeat an antagonist. I absolutely believe that the direction into a Secret Wars would be amazing for the MCU for that big film 10 years down the road. I think some certain things to question is, well, look, you know, we had the Russo brothers do the last big part 1 and part 2 of the climax of those phases with Infinity War and Endgame. So it's like, okay, do we want to keep it fresh? Have some new blood come in to direct that next big event? But at the same time, I have extreme faith in the Russo brothers. They're extremely diverse in what they can do. And look, this is something that's not going to happen tomorrow or a couple years down the road. This most likely would happen, you know, a decade down the road. So I absolutely like this idea. At this point, I can't argue the fact of having the Russo brothers at the helm of this. I think it would be great. And then the question is, you know, do you look at the original Secret Wars from 1984, which was the first big team up, you know, in comic books really to do that, or the 2015 Secret Wars that dealt with more of the multiverse? I see this as being kind of being able to be worked with a blend of those two things. You can have the Beyonder as the antagonist, like in the original Secret Wars, but to add depth and context, you know, you could go with the storyline of the multiverse being at risk and what that means for the heroes and villains. So a lot of stuff to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. But in my opinion, I mean, I would love to see this. I absolutely would love to see this. I'm cool with the Russo brothers taking this on too. My opinion, I don't think the MCU is big enough for a Secret Wars event on the big screen. I think we're a really long ways off from that, and I think that the MCU is huge right now, but it still needs to even expand further to be able to do something like that, and to be able to integrate all of these characters, all of these personalities on the screen, and to go over the events. I mean, I agree with you. I would love to see a combination of the 84 series and the 15 series where the Beyonder's involved. But with that 84 series, the reason that Secret Wars came out was to sell toys. The 2015 series, I guess, you know, was to kind of bring people into the fold, into the 616 universe. So as they're exploring the multiverse in Doctor Strange, I think that opens the door to a Secret Wars and would be very, very interesting.
Absolutely. And you got it, to your point. I mean, a perfect point, because, and this goes to what the Russo brothers said about this being even to a higher level of a scale, or a larger scale. That's why we have Fantastic Four in X-Men coming over to the MCU. And that's why this buildup would be perfect. You know, you take these next 5 years to create this new Avengers team, to bring over the X-Men, introduce mutants, to bring over Fantastic Four, amazing villains like Magneto or Galactus, Silver Surfer, all these characters. And then once you are on that, you know, cosmic scale, Quasar, Nova, Warlock, you got the mutants, all of that 10, 12 years down the road, then you would have this wide enough universe to really make that happen. And hey, look, one thing to add to this, if this is the next big thing, and it is 10 to 12 years down the road, you look at Tom Holland as Spider-Man right now being, what is he, 20, 23, 24 years old. And you think about this big buildup could possibly be the end of Tom Holland's run, where if this would involve the multiverse crashing together, what a good way to have Peter Parker meet Miles Morales as old man Peter, to saying, look, I've been doing this for long enough. Now I want to show you the ropes.
That would be cool. I guarantee you they're going to bring Miles in way before an event like that. On top of that, there will be a big event before a Secret Wars event too, because they've already got this all planned out in the next 3-4 phases. I'm
going to challenge you on that too, though, and not to get off topic. But let's revisit that. We are still going to be doing this show hopefully for many Fridays to come. let's revisit that, because I have a theory that Sony doesn't want to hand over anything regarding Miles Morales yet, because they're having so much success with Into the Spider-Verse. They just announced this video game. So I think it's in Sony's best interest to hold on to Miles and not introduce him into the MCU too soon. And then it would still allow Tom Holland to be the Spider-Man of the MCU for a good time before bringing him in. So let's see how this transpires and plays out, and definitely come back to that.
I'm going to take it further off track here real quick, because there are rumors that Sony is looking to get rid of their pictures and television show division.
Well,
and
yeah,
from what I've heard in the contract, if Sony sells off their division, Marvel gets the rights back to Spider-Man, which means they get the rights back to all Spider-Man characters, which means Miles Morales, which means Black Cat, which means Silver Sable, which means Kraven, which means Morbius, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. We could probably talk about this for the whole show, but we don't have time for the whole show. We have to move on to our next story, which is B-level Star Wars and I'm sorry, that Star Wars guy are going to enjoy this news, because it is rumored here that Donald Glover may be returning as Lando Calrissian in the Disney Plus television show. Now, will this be a Lando spinoff, or could it be part of a Solo, as in Han Solo, series? We don't know, but apparently he's very close to signing on board for this, and I love Solo. I thought it was fantastic, and I thought he was the best part of Solo as Lando Calrissian. I mean, Chris, I would be ecstatic if this happened.
Absolutely. I just binge watched and completed a Star Wars marathon last week. And when you watch all these films, in proper continuity, where you throw Solo in, before the original trilogy, and then you go into Rogue One before you go into the original trilogy as well. And I just don't understand the hate for the Solo film. If anything, it is Star Wars at its core. And I agree with you. The way Glover portrayed Lando was just amazing. I think that he can absolutely succeed in his own Solo Disney Plus show, or a Han Solo Disney Plus show, either or. Whether he's like the guy. Actually, let's bring that back. I actually probably would. Well, I might be more excited with the Lando show than a Han Solo show. Now that I am sitting here on the spot thinking about it, it might work better that way, because you're right. This character just stole the show. He embodied the swagger to the T. Although I felt that the whole cast did an amazing job filling some really, really tough shoes. Either or, I would love to see young Han Solo or young Lando in another film or on Disney Plus to some capacity whatsoever. I think it has to be done.
Definitely. I think they left so much there to be explored in that time period. And this is probably 10 years before Rogue One, as I do believe. B-level Star Wars could correct me on this, but there's just so much to explore, especially how they had just inserted Darth Maul in at the end there. I would absolutely love to see this. Donald Glover killed it as Lando. Alden Ehrenreich, I know you and I have a little disagreement on this. I don't think he was a distraction in terms of his performance, but I didn't see Han Solo in him, but it was still, I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, I do believe. And again, look, I think we both agree that when you look at these three characters, or Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo, it's like you have these iconic characters and iconic actors, and it's really tough. And I was a critic before this movie came out. Like, look, this is just, it can't happen. Nobody else can fill Harrison Ford's shoes. They're going to have old man Harrison come in and play him and like CGI him young, But I thought, Ehrenreich, I have a hard time saying his name. I think he did a great job, because really I could tell that he studied. He had the body movement down, really small details, to where Harrison Ford in that character really portrayed. And I think that helps sell it. And like I said, I think it's easy for us to differentiate his portrayal next to Harrison Ford's portrayal, just because it's much younger. So we could kind of see that younger side and then see Harrison Ford as this older character. Whereas I think if Harrison was a lot younger, or 10 plus years younger, playing Han Solo in the original films, it probably wouldn't have worked as well. But overall, I agree with you. Just this film left so much on the table. We have to see more from this time period in these character arcs.
Yep, absolutely. One comment here from B-Level. Legit, that film opened the door for multiple follow-ups, TV shows, and comics. They really opened the door. I hope they revisit, as do we. And speaking of revisiting, actually, there is a comic book creator that likes to revisit a certain character that he really likes to insert his opinion from time to time. So, Chris, how about you just take this on here?
Guys, all right, I'm ready. This is to our good friend Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld, if you don't have a love and hate with Rob Liefeld, I don't know, but this guy, poor Rob. All right, without any further ado, just Rob. Rob goes on rants. And Rob went on another rant this last week, calling out Disney and Kevin Feige specifically. Oh, Rob. All right, guys. Rob Liefeld calls out Disney and Feige for not properly utilizing the Deadpool character. He's already gone down this road, saying that, they don't have any plans. Disney doesn't have any plans to utilize Deadpool. They're just not doing anything with this character. And he calls them out again. When Rob Liefeld was asked if there should be a Deadpool animated project, he kind of went off. Liefeld replied, stating, quote, whoever is running the ship over there, how are you going to get a return on your $70 billion investment? Oh, Rob. Let me address Rob like this, guys. First off, $70 billion. Wow. I don't know. Wow, $70 billion for Deadpool. I don't know where that number's coming from, but I believe that number is a little bloated. Let me put it into context, guys. The Disney and Fox deal wasn't just for Deadpool. It was for a catalog of multiple franchises and characters that is so deep, okay? Now, on top of this, when you think about what's on Kevin Feige's plate and Disney's plate with Marvel Studios, they have so many properties to work with already, okay? So Rob Liefeld also went on to say, and again, I quote, he said, Feige, love you, but you're not the only genius. And he's speaking in terms of being able to make a property, be successful. Rob, love you, but you're not the only one with an awesome character. Kevin Feige is known for not rushing into anything. Kevin Feige, keep in mind, guys, the closure of the Disney Fox deal just happened a little over a year ago in March of 2019. They've already sat down behind closed doors with Ryan Reynolds, okay? Something is on the table. It's going to happen. Marvel has so much on their plate with Disney Plus, with the MCU, with the cinematic releases that are all multi-billion-dollar franchises in and of themselves. Kevin Feige doesn't need to touch Deadpool if he doesn't want to. So the fact that Rob Liefeld feels that Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios, and Disney needs to rush into, oh my gosh, we have Deadpool now, we need to, make him our world. It's not logical. Now, on a closing point to this, Rob Liefeld, bless his heart, he did make kind of a decent point, stating, look, the Deadpool character can be utilized in other avenues. We could see him in video games. There was in 2017, Fox was going to partner with Marvel Television to do an animated TV series that fell through the roof. But ultimately, Fox stated that, Marvel Studios under Jeff Loeb ruined that Well, now he's in the hands of Feige. So, hey, look, all these things are there. But Rob, sit back, drink some tea, relax, and just have some patience. Deadpool isn't going anywhere, but Kevin Feige and team doesn't need to rush into anything. Anything they touch is a billion-dollar success, and Deadpool's time will come.
He is a small cog in a gigantic machine, right? But it seems to Rob Liefeld that this is the center of the universe and everything revolves around that. I mean, $70 billion is quite substantial. And there's no asset that Marvel owns or revenue they brought in that is worth $70 billion. I'm sure he was being sarcastic. I'm sure he was exaggerating. But I mean, come on, man. Why do you have to insert these opinions in? Like, I think what's happening here, and I hate to say it, because I do like a lot of Rob Liefeld's work. I'll admit it. Not the Captain America puffed out chest, okay? But I do believe that he was so ingrained in the first two films where the creators and Fox brought him in, deservingly so, to be part of the experience. And Disney is a company that keeps things close to the chest. And they are not talking to Rob Liefeld. He was questioning if a Deadpool 3 would be happening. It's happening. You said that. We've read it. It's happening. So it's got to be an ego thing that he just keeps spouting out this kind of like these crazy statements. And it's just like, and you wonder why this guy is so polarizing. This is why. This is why. And feet and chest. But I digress.
Right. Absolutely. And hey, I'll give, like you said, you didn't just throw Rob under the bus, and I give Rob credit where credit's due, and look, I never like to throw anybody under the bus as well. I don't like to judge people's characters. I don't know Rob personally. I don't know him, but I just, regardless if there's good intentions there, I wonder if Rob has anyone in his corner to say, hey, Rob, take a step back. Let's work through this and how to approach these things, because he has no filter. And yeah, look, we all get caught up in ego sometimes. I know that Deadpool is dear to his heart, which rightfully so, but there's just, he's got to take a step back. There's got to be a different approach to him wanting to be involved in certain things like this, but he's really shooting himself in the foot, because nobody is, even when social distancing is done, nobody's want to get closer than 6 feet from this guy.
And I think this needs to be said too, that yes, he did create Deadpool. He helped create Deadpool. So did Fabian Nicieza as well. But he wasn't the one that brought the actual personality to Deadpool. You know what I mean? So, and that's what's kind of so that's what makes his character so popular, especially the films where you got Deadpool speaking right to camera, breaking the fourth wall. Kid Collector, I love Ranting Rob. It's hilarious to watch. It gives us something to talk about.
It sure does. I mean, this is probably the longest segment we talked about today.
Oh, God. I mean, we're passionate, and it's just like, come on, man. And to your point of like, there's got to be somebody that pulls him back. He was live when he was doing it. He was live with IGN talking about this stuff. Yeah. So some people are just loose cannons when they're live. I mean, like, look at the two of us. We are a bunch of crazy people. But you get me. You feel me. But I think we need to put this one to rest. I think everybody has an opinion on Rob Liefeld, good or bad or both. But we will be moving on to another interesting rumor as well. And again, take this with a grain of salt. It's not something concrete because there's a lot of work to be done. But it has been talked about recently that the Illuminati will be making an appearance eventually in the MCU. As most of you know, the Illuminati was originally comprised of Iron Man, Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Namor, and Professor X. Now, you'll notice that one of these characters is deceased in the MCU. One kind of made an appearance in the MCU in Black Bolt. Then there is Doctor Strange, and 3 of them have not made an appearance. You did have the Black Panther involved with the Illuminati as well at one point. So the makings are there for the Illuminati. However, you're going to need to bring in some pretty powerful characters, and Namor, Professor X, and Mr. Fantastic to make something like this happen. I would love to see it, and I know, Chris, you would as well.
Yeah. There's just so many avenues to take with this. I think it would be extremely healthy of an option, and it could be something that sits in the background. You know, you don't have to have like one build up to a movie to collaborate these characters. You know, they could be kind of in the background, kind of like Samuel L. Jackson's role. You know, and it really plays into so many different factors of where they could take things, and one that's close to my heart would be, having the Illuminati because of them in the comic books hiding the Infinity Stones. You know, if Marvel ever wanted to go backwards and revisit whatever happened to the Infinity Stones, and if they start popping back up again, we can revisit Captain America. And maybe 5-6 years down the line, if Marvel Studios sits with Chris Evans and says, hey, look, you're still young. You can still come back into this role. You went and had a fruitful, 6-7 years doing other films, pursuing different things in your career path. We want Cap back. Hey, the Illuminati team can have the power to create a new super serum. They could go to old man Steve Rogers, say, Steve, we need you. We need Cap back. Or it doesn't even have to involve the Infinity Stones. It could be some new threat. I think the Illuminati would be the people to do it. That's just one element. But yeah, I would really like to see, and the MCU could change it around. We know that it doesn't look exactly like the comics. We want Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark to stay dead, but we don't need him to make this happen. So I hope that there is some fact to this rumor. And I hope that we see them creeping up in the shadows of the MCU sometime soon.
Right, and we do have to credit Illuminati, who reported this from a casting list with Kevin Feige's name on it. Illuminati is, I do believe, is a Marvel kind of a site out there. There's so much to explore character-wise in this too, where the Illuminati also kicked the Hulk off planet Earth, and that's what led us to Planet Hulk, and eventually World War Hulk too as well. So it's really kind of to me, there's so much to play with, but again, a lot needs to happen before we get there if they're following any sort of semblance of the comic book. Yeah.
Let's introduce these characters first. If they have any of those other characters at play, they need to be introduced properly. Let's not go down a DCEU road. But again, what's the hashtag? Trust Feige, right?
I mean, he hasn't let us down. He's barely let us down. Maybe there's a few things here and there. All right, that is all we have for the news today, and we will be moving on now to our top 10 hottest comics of the week in CoverPrice.com. CoverPrice.com is a really cool site. They don't pay us to say this. I truly believe it. Really cool site that delivers the data based. The hot comics are based on actual sales data that Cover Price collects, and they come up with this top 10 list each week on a Tuesday. We do things a little bit differently. Our show's on Friday. We like to collect all the news, but we like to incorporate these top 10 hottest comics that they reported on Tuesday. So here we go. The top 10 hottest comics from this previous week were Venom number 3, Ryan Stegman third printing, the first appearance of Null. This thing is hot, really hot, to the point like it's a few $100s. It's just not slowing down. Ultimate Fallout number 4, first appearance of Miles, that has not left this top 10 list. Venom number 9, I do believe that's the first appearance of Venom's son Dylan. Number 7 is The Old Guard, number 1. The Old Guard just debuted on Netflix, I do believe, last week, and I haven't seen it yet, but apparently everybody is raving about it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin number 1. How cool does this look? We'll be talking a little bit more about that in a second. Catwoman number 23, the Wu Shul Lee variant, first appearance of Catgirl as well. Number 4, we have Strange Academy number 1. Number 3, the Thor 5, the first appearance of Black Winter. Donny Cates is just dominating this list. Catwoman number 23, the original cover is, again, the first appearance of Catgirl. And number 1 is Venom number 25. It's the first cameo of the new villain, Virus. Now, as we like to do every week with this top 10, Chris dives in and gets to the heart of this list and gives you the facts and his take on these on at least 3 issues a week. So Chris, let's get into it right now. How about?
Yeah, lots of good stuff to pick. It was a tough one to pick. 3 out of this 10, besides one, and that's the first one I'm going to talk about. In no particular order. This book, though, is I'm most excited about this book. That's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, #1. I am a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. My first comic book ever was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book. I started drawing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at like 4 years old. I have this book pre-ordered. Here's the thing. This book is on the top 10 list and it's not even released yet. These are pre-order sales. That says something. Again, and this is not one of the 2 big publishers. This is a take on the Ninja Turtles that I think is, almost 40 years coming. Not to get too deep into the storyline, I don't really want to give too much away, but basically, there's 1 brother left. 3 of them have died. And he goes on a mission to avenge his fallen brothers. I am hoping to see such a darker, gritty side of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that relates to the original Eastman and Laird work, but takes it to an even much deeper level, and also modern level that really dives into the characters, like really gets deep and personal with the characters. I can't wait for this book. This is probably my most at least one of my most anticipated books as a collector, as an adult, hands down. So I can't wait for when it comes out. I'll probably do a review on it on my channel. So yeah, I could keep talking about this book. So that's the first one today. Everyone should, if you're a Ninja Turtle fan, if you like reading independent stuff that's not, of the big 2, go check this book out. Get yourself a pre-order. Absolutely. All right. So second book I wanted to talk about, which brings up a different side of the industry and of collecting that I don't think gets talked about a lot these days, and that's Strange Academy #1. Strange Academy #1, I want to talk about this because I feel that this book, although not necessarily fresh just in terms of storytelling in general, but I think at least in the modern realm of Marvel, it's fresh to Marvel. And basically, to sum it up, it is kind of like Xavier's school for gifted youngsters with mutants, but it's Strange's school for gifted magicians. It's very, very Harry Potter-esque. And I really like that Marvel is going kind of a Harry Potter route with the magical mystic side of their universe. To me, the #1 reason why is because I think it really speaks to the younger readers. Now, I'm not saying this is a book that's branded young reader material. I do feel that this is something that can be enjoyed for all ages, but it's very, very accessible to those young readers, and that's what I like. I've talked about it before. When you go back into the Golden Age, Silver Age, especially, but even into the Bronze Age, there wasn't young reader and adult reads. It was comic books, and people of all ages can enjoy them. And I think when we have, as collectors, and we've aged and we see where the market has gone, we want more young readers involved. We talked about last week how books, especially trade paperbacks and graphic novels that are the young reader bracket, are really boosting comic book sales right now, and it proves that young people are reading comics. And before I go to my last book, I want to say this. I was watching Comics with Bueller the other night, and he was talking on a show about, is the industry doomed? And they always read comments of people coming in. And I watch the show often, and they always have people commenting saying, oh, these young people don't read comics anymore. Young people don't read comics. Kids don't read comics. It's not true. I have kids. They read comics. And that young reader market is still really huge in terms of physical book sales. So don't underestimate the power of the youth. And I think this is going to be a real decent storyline to follow. And I think it's going to be big with those younger readers. So Moving on to my last pick of the week, and that is Venom number 25. Here's a really cool thing. I think this is cool. I mean, it's questionable, but I think it's cool. Venom 25 is, you know, and obviously we have an amazing cover wraparound, but this is still a cameo appearance of Virus. So when you look at the modern market and you look at first appearances, for the most part, everyone wants to go after that true first full appearance. That would be Venom 26. Now, Venom 26 is a hot book as well, but Venom 25 is still the big dollar book. Now, to see this at number 1 is exciting for me because it shows me that, yes, there's always the argument of the cameo versus the first full, and really it boils down to what the market demands. And usually that market will demand the first full, and usually the first full has to do with, say, the first appearance of the individual on the cover, or a better cover, so to say. But with this book right here, it's kind of defying the odds in modern books, because regardless of it being coined and deemed with a cameo appearance, the market is still demanding it. Buyers are still demanding this book, and I like that because it proves that, look, the market is going to dictate what the buyers want, and it proves the power of the buyers. It proves the power of the collectors. And I like that collectors are demanding a cameo over a first full appearance. I like it, you know. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because now whether or not that'll stay, you know, I don't know if Venom 26 will kind of, you know, it'll shift gears. But right now, I like that people know it's out there. It's published. This is a cameo. You know what? I'm going to go buy it anyways.
And you know what's interesting about, again, we mentioned this like past couple of weeks. What's interesting about these lists, these are all modern books. And that shows you the health of the market right now, especially with the setback with COVID and them not delivering issues and things like that. Yeah. Maybe it created a hunger for this new stuff, but I also think there's just some quality stuff being put out there by these creators and publishers, and it's just really exciting. And it honestly, it makes me think about the early, in the 90s when you could spec on a book. I used to spec on books in the 90s. I'm showing my age here, guys, but like I would buy 2 issues of that, return the next week to my comic book shop, and trade one of those in so I could buy more comic books. And that's what this is reminding me of, those times. We have more tools now with these websites and apps and things like that, but it's really an exciting time in the new comic book market.
Absolutely. And, you know, to add to that, and again, I'm going to piggyback Comics with Bueller, because they mentioned, and I love this about this topic, is that a lot of people do compare what's going on to the 90s. They compare the variant hype to the 90s, or, you know, any kind of speculating to the 90s. It's not the 90s for multiple reasons, but one thing that was addressed on Comics with Bueller's is the fact that I do feel that more speculators these days, regardless of what people say, most speculators are truly diehard comic book fans that just have access to being able to speculate and to have all these things at our fingertips to say, okay, look, I can entertain myself by knowing what's coming out with the previews and what these YouTubers are talking about, or what these apps are speculating on, and so forth. Where in the 90s, you know, and I know being a kid, you probably had a lot of parents and a lot of adults going in and saying, hey, I don't know. All I know is that my kid has a few comic books like on his bed in his bedroom, and I'm hearing all this talk about they're worth money. I'm going to go to a comic book store and buy a bunch of issues and pay for them to go to college. They didn't know really what they were doing. So many more people are actually in the know and are actually educated and dedicated to the hobby in such a way. And that's why I always say speculating is actually extremely healthy for the hobby right now. So I just wanted to add to that. And I absolutely agree.
It's a different time. We're not, you know, the publishers are not producing millions of copies. We have eBay. We have, you know, we have all of these social media to get information out there, and artists can touch, literally, like, talk to people one-on-one with the, you know, with these avenues of you know, with social media. So it's a much closer kind of relationship with consumer to publishers and artists and all that stuff. And again, I think it's a completely different time because the 90s almost ruined comics for good. Literally, Marvel almost went bankrupt in the late 90s. So that's what we got for our top 10 right there. Good job there, Chris. You always do an astounding job of just getting into the details and giving your opinion at the same time. But right now we have a very exciting segment as well. We are going to check out some fun things that Chris got in the mail. When did you get them, Chris? Was it last Friday?
Wednesday. 2 days ago.
Wednesday. Okay. Let me set it up here. Chris sent a bunch of books out to CGC. He's revealing the grades. Some of them on his channel, some of them with another person, but some of them here on his show, our show, Comic Book Canon. He is going to be giving some CGC grade reveals for 4 books. We got 4 books, people. We got She Hulk #1, which will be hot once that they announce whoever's going to be the lead in the Disney Plus show. Wonder Woman 7, the first appearance of Cheetah. Avengers Annual #10, I do believe the first appearance of Rogue. And Spawn #300. So, Chris, we're going to have to go full screen with you, man, because you're going to show these books.
Do this.
You're going to show the detail. I'll chime in before you reveal the grade, but we're going to do it, people. Here we go.
I definitely want I want you to guess the grade. Folks watching, you could sit there and leave comments on what grade you think these books are. I'm going to show them off to the best of my ability. I did show off 5 of these books on my channel. I guess 3 out of the 5 exactly, because I do have my list here of the grades that I assumed they were going to be when I sent them out. So I said, I think this book's going to be a 9.0 and so forth. I was spot on with 3 of them. I was off from 1 by a point of the grade, and the other was a complete flop. But we won't get into that. So we got 4 books here today. I'm going to show each books with the grades covered. So that's why I can have Jeff come in and have him say, I think that's this grade. And like I said, you guys leave your thoughts in the comments before the reveal. But yeah, let's get to it, huh?
Before we start, I want to mention that we do have Chris's channel in the description below, so please check that out. He's got a ton of stuff he does outside of comic. He does way more stuff. Comic Book Canon. I'm honored to be working with him as a partner on this show. So here we go. Chris is gonna get to it with She Hulk #1.
Let's do it. Now, I will say, too, I have 4 more books that I will be revealing with special guest Alice the Comic Hoarder on my Journos Comics channel. That'll be next Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific time. So let's get into these, though, guys. Okay, first up, She Hulk #1, Savage She Hulk #1. This is the first appearance of She Hulk, and, of course, the first solo issue of her. So I love when you get a good book that's a good #1 first solo, but it's also a first appearance. Now, I was hesitant to bring this in. I've had this book since a kid. It was decently beat up. I gave it a good clean. You got a white cover here. I decided to send it in. My guess, guys, on this grade was a 5.0. Okay, so let's go into kind of showing this off, guys. First off, well, let's get a good look at that cover. I mean, I got the white pretty clean. There was a lot of dinge on that white. But, I did a good job cleaning it, gave it a press. Let's look at this spine. So there's a decent amount of wear. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, there's got to be like 12, 13 spine ticks. And they're pretty color breaking. So if you guys can see, look, you can see them all right there. I'm trying to get the glare out. Let me see if we can get a little less glare there. Lots of spine tick action going on. Let's look at the corners. We got top corners pretty sharp. A little bit of foxing, some rounding of the corner there. Not too shabby though. We got a little bit of color breaking action going down on the bottom corner, and a little bit of chipping right there. The bottom is pretty smooth though, pretty smooth edge. A little discoloration along the edge here. The back, I wasn't able to get the back that clean. It's a little yellowed, a little more yellowed than the front cover. A little bit of dinge down here, if you guys can see that. But overall, a little bit of blunting on the back corner there. The bottom is really sharp, and I see a couple of the spine ticks folding, lapping over into the back, but not too many. So there it is, guys. Jeff, do you have an opinion?
I mean, it's really hard for me to see. Obviously, it'd be better up close, but you're 3,500 miles away from me. I'm gonna be optimistic here. Okay, I'm gonna go 6.5.
Woo! I like that. I like that. Yeah, it's tough too. I think when showing it off on the camera, the white background makes it really tough to see any type of blemish. But I was extremely impressed with the cleaning job. I will say I guessed a 5.0, and I said, look, if this gets anything lower than a 4.5, I don't think it's worth it. And I'm going to bring up numbers of the return on investment after I reveal the grade too, just so we can kind of get an idea. Because just because we send a book into CGC doesn't mean that if we want to flip it, it's going to provide a larger return on investment. Because look, I thought this book was a 5.0. You're looking at it, 3,000 miles away, but you're going high. You're going with 6.5. But if this book is a lot lower, I have to sell it to the sticker now. I can't sell it to an estimated grade that you or I think. So without further ado, though, let's go ahead and Hold on.
We got some guesses here in the comments. Kid Collector says 5.0. B. Schnur, 6.0. Isaac Maynard, 5.5. I got the highest. Kid Collector and yourself have the lowest. Let's see.
All right. You ready? Let me make sure I'm in position here. Here we go. Oh, I'm going to go like this.
Gut punch.
4.0.
Gut punch.
Yes. Gut punch. I am a bit upset. I really thought this wouldn't get any lower than a 4.5 after I cleaned it. Look, I know you guys are looking at it from the perspective of a computer screen, but like there is no color breaks throughout the cover itself, besides the little scuffing down here. I think the biggest issue. There is some rounding of the edges, but I think honestly the biggest issue is that spine, and I think that's probably what did it. And the fact that it is a white background, and even though I cleaned it as best as that I could, but I'm a little disappointed. I think 4.0 is a bit low. I always talk about with CGC, if I sent this in tomorrow, it could probably easily come back a 5.0 for sure. Yeah. I want to go over some numbers here. Now the Savage She Hulk.
I just want to get into Bishner is doing a callback from your previous video. I think because you're really disappointed in that Spider Woman.
Yes.
And he says I cracked that and sent it back if you got gypped. And then he said that was definitely the same grader that graded Spider Woman. To give context, Chris really was disappointed in the grade he got for that.
Yeah. This one I'm not as disappointed. But it is a bit of a disappointment. Now let's look at the numbers here. Savage She Hulk #1, CGC grade at a 4.0. My purchase price, I just guessed under $2. I got this as a kid, probably in the 80s still, so who knows? I may have got it for $1 in a back issue bin. Now, when you add the cost, the CGC cost to get it graded, my total cost for this book is $36. Fair market value in a 4.0 is $60. So if I decided to sell it, look, I still have a $24 return on investment in my pocket. So it's not that I lost out. And look, this book, like you said, Jeff, the hype is there. The hype's going to continue. This book's going to continue to go up. And look, She-Hulk has been an underrated character in my opinion. So even without the movie hype, this book will continue to slowly increase over time. So it's not a huge disappointment. I'm still happy to have this in my collection. And it's a special book to me because I've had it since I was probably like 7 years old. So
yeah. I mean, she's been in the Avengers, the Fantastic Four. She's got her show coming. So all right, here we go though. We're moving on to Wonder Woman #7. First appearance of Cheetah.
Here we are. Yes. So first appearance of let's read what it says. Barbara Minerva, the new Cheetah. Yep, there it is.
And that's who's coming in the new Wonder Woman movie if it ever gets released.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
It will.
So,
it will.
This was my only DC book that I sent in, and it is the only DC book that I have in my slab collection. Now, my guess on this book was dun dun dun. I knew it was a higher grade. Wonder Woman #7. I guessed a 9.4.
Woo.
So let's go ahead and take a look at this, will we?
All right, the floor is yours. Here we go.
All right. Let's look at this. Well, try to get a look. Really nice cover there. Let's look at this spine. Sorry, the transpose. I still have difficulty. Tell you what, I'm gonna move this like this. There we go. Let's look at that spine. That spine is so clean. Really clean. Look at that. There we go. Let's take a look at it too. I see not one spine tick. Not one spine tick whatsoever. Let's try to look at these corners. Really sharp corner down there. Edges are smooth. Corner up here, a little bit, man. So this corner is not a 9.8 corner. So a little barely bit of a ding there to make it not as sharp as it should be. Smooth top. Okay, I mean overall, there is just really no blemish to the front cover besides a little bit of barely noticeable rounding to that top corner. Let's go ahead and look at the back here. Really nice white back. That spine is still smooth. On the back, no spine tick at all. Again, top corner on the back, maybe a little something there. Bottom, perfectly smooth. So there it is, guys. Jeff.
All right. Well, obviously this is a better. It will definitely be a better grade than what we dealt with the She Hulk. I don't know, man, but I am a little worried about that top right corner. Right? Is that a concern?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I noticed.
Okay.
There is a little. There's no real foxing, but you get kind of that cut mark. Where you get a little extra fuzz right there from the cut, but that shouldn't affect the grade according to CGC. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think that top right corner, was basically it. Oh yeah, I want to say too, we got I'll read. I believe this was white pages. You got a grade? What do you think?
I'm gonna go 9.0. Isaac Maynard gave it a 9.2. Kid Collector 7.5 to an 8.0 with the luck you've had. So we'll see. Let's just give it a go. Anybody else also want to give a guess as well while he rips it off? Here we go. I'm gonna go.
So we had my guess was 9.4. We got a 9. .4.
Whoa! Well, hello. There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
So spot on. So now I'm 4 out of 7 where I guess the exact grade. So I'm feeling pretty good about my grading skills here so far. So yeah, 9.4 white pages. Super excited. Let's look at the numbers here. So Wonder Woman #7, first Cheetah, 9.4 grade. How much did I pay for this book? $1.50.
Woo!
with CGC cost, my cost for this book in total was $36. Fair market value right now is $60 and a 9.4. That may seem kind of low. And again, these numbers I calculated about a month ago, so they may have changed by now, but that's still about a $24, $25 return on investment. And you know, again, this book, look out for this book once the movie comes out. You know, I definitely am very, very happy to have this book, and in a 9.42, I cannot complain.
All right. So now we are moving on to Avengers Annual 10, first appearance of Rogue.
Yes, here it is. Here it is.
Okay.
Really awesome book. Let's bring up my guess for this book here, and then we'll look at it. Actually, well, yeah. Let's say Avengers Annual 10. I guessed an 8.5. So let's go ahead and take a look here, guys. Let's give you a good look at the front cover here without as much glare as possible. And let's take a look at the spine. It's miscut, it's misaligned, but again, that shouldn't affect the grade. So you see a bit of the white along the spine. The spine is decently smooth. There's one decently good size spine tick, but it doesn't break color. And there's another one, two. So only about 2 spine ticks. I'll try to show you guys this spine here. Let's see. Let me see. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm going to try to show you guys the one. The big spine tick is right about here. And right there in that glare, you could see it. You can see the little glare going into the book. That's a spine tick. Does not break color, though. Now, there is a bit of foxing at the top there. Not too bad. And a little bit of foxing at the bottom. Little bit there. Right there. The bottom corner, little bit of rounding. I mean, it's still sharp, but it's definitely has been impacted. A little bit of blending there. The edge is decently smooth all the way, really smooth until you get to the top corner again, and you got a little blunting that it's more noticeable because you could see a little sort of like a discoloring there. And then if you look along the top, you might be able to see some ruffling. There you go. You can see right there. You see that in the glare? Look at that. Little bit of ruffling along the top edge, right in there. A little more even out here. So no color breaks within the book, though. There's no bends or creases in the book. Let's look at the back. Really white back. The back is really nice. I don't that one spine tick does kind of roll over to the back. In the back, the edges in the back cover are extremely sharp. I think it's so interesting how sometimes you'll get that front cover really gets the bulk of the wear, because sometimes these back covers can still look pristine. Really smooth, sharp cover on top, really white. So not much going on in the back there besides that one spine tick pushing through the book. So my guess was an 8.5. I don't know if you guys can notice, and this might be a printing thing, and I don't know if this would affect grade, but the orange is a little lighter on this side of the book, and it's a little more darker and glossy on this side of the book. I really think it's a printing thing. I think I would be able to tell if it was like a warp from the sun or discoloration from UV exposure, because there's no effect to the other colors in panel. It's just like the orange changed contrast. So
okay,
there it is.
So here we go. I think we have a consensus here for those that are guessing. I'm going to say a 7.5. Okay, B. Schnur, a 7.5 as well. Isaac Maynard is going with an 8.0. And Kid Collector is going with a 7.5. So what do we got, Chris?
All right, guys. Again, I guessed 8.5. We got an 8.0. 8.0. So I was
all right. That's not bad.
off.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
And Isaac Maynard wins here, guys. Just
Yep. He got it.
Isaac Maynard, 8.0 on point.
Very, very happy with the 8.0. You know, let's look at the numbers. Again, this is a book that, regardless of any movie hype or anything like that, it's a hot book that stays hot because of the character. You know, Rogue is an excellent character. I hope she gets more justice done in the MCU than how we saw her in the Fox movies too. But let's look at numbers here. We got Avengers Annual number 10, CGC grade of an 8.0. I paid $40 for this book. Not bad. With CGC costs, my total cost of this book was $75. Now, fair market value for this book is at $85, which is a $10 return on investment if I was to flip it and get that fair market value right now. But here's the thing again. This is just a nice Bronze Age first appearance, you know, and I really do think that this book would be even more of a hot item if Rogue was on the cover. And it's kind of disappointing, but still, I am holding on to this book. I think this book is going to continue to increase in value, and I think 8.0 is an overall very, very decent grade to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on that one. And we have a final book for this evening, people.
Yes.
It is, I want to let Chris get into it. It's a nice one, though. Here we go.
Yes. Guys, let me get a sip of water if you don't mind.
I just gave it away with the lower third. It's Spawn 300. I'm sorry. I just gave it away.
What? All right. All right. This book is awesome to me because why? It is the J variant ASM 300 cover swipe. ASM 300 is one of my favorite covers of all time. I have my ASM 300 graded and slabbed in an 8.5 CGC. Happy to have that. And I have a good amount of cover swipes of this book. Love Spawn, so this was an awesome book to have. I bought a couple issues of this, and I looked over both of them to say which one I want an 8.0. I don't have an 8.0 in my collection, and I was like, you know, I really need to pick the best book, so I picked the best book. I gave it a press, and I said I have to get an 8.0 in my collection. So I guessed an 8.0. That's what I guessed. Now, looking at this book, you know, it's brand new off the shelf. You know, all those other books, back issue books, been in my collection for decades, whatever. This book is fresh off the shelf. So if we're looking at this book,
I'm gonna go on your single here. Here we go.
Awesome. We're gonna look at the spine. It's perfect spine. You can see the glare roll off that spine so beautifully. Look at that. Woo! Smooth edges. Oh man, beautiful. Let's look at this. Look at that. So smooth, so glossy. Perfect edge up there, pretty much. Smooth top. Now, interesting thing about this book, a black back. So I'm like, man, if this black back affects me in a way to where I don't get my 9.8, man. But look at this black, guys. Just perfect. I mean, the ink that day was on point. Not one little blemish or anything to the black. And I know it's tough to see with the glare. You don't see the black as solid as I do looking at it, but just so smooth. Now, the one thing that was on this book that even after I gave it a press, I was a little concerned about. But what's interesting is even when I'm looking at it, I don't see it. I can't see it. But there was what looked to be right around here, it what looked to be kind of like a little bit of a indentation, the size of a crescent moon, the size of a pinky, right? Of a tip of a pinky nail. And I was like, oh man. But I don't even see it now. So yeah, so I guessed a 9.8, hoping that this would be my first 9.8 in my collection.
I gotta say 9.8 as well. Bishner, fresh to death, man. Better be a 9.8. I've never heard that expression. I'm not sure what that means, but he's guessing a 9.8. Kid Collector has high hopes for you.
Yes.
He has a 9.9.
Oh man.
I saw an unboxing recently. I think it was Very Gary Comics. He got 2 9.9s in his returns from CGC.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so Isaac, you're not gonna like this. 9.6. So here we go.
All right. You went with 9.8, right, Jeff?
What's that?
You said 9.8?
I said 9.8.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping for my first 9.8, guys. Let's do this. Whew. Oh, the anticipation. Sorry. It's real quick. I know, just to leave you guys in a little more anticipation, I doubled the painter's tape because when I did the reveal of the first 5 books on my channel, the one slab of piece of painter's tape wasn't enough and you could see the grade through it. So I doubled them up here. That's why it's a little tricky to get my hand on it, but let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, and 9.8. Oh, we got a 9. Woo!
There it is. There it is, folks. 9.8. Your first 9.8. Oh my gosh, I wish I had streamers and balloons to go off and some music we can license. That is great, man.
Yes.
I mean, you better be happy about that. The only thing better would have been a 9.9 or, you know, like, so.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And here we, so I am what? I'm, out of 9 books, I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 9 on point, with 2 of them being off by just 1 grade point. So again, I'm feel confident in my grading skills. But yeah, so happy to have this 9.8. Let's look at the numbers real quick. So a 9.8. Spawn number 300 cover swipe. Where are we here? I paid obviously $5, $4.9. Well, you know, this was what the cover price of this book was. A little. It was like what, like $6.99 or $7.99. But I got it for 35% off. So I just rounded. I paid about $5 for this book because I bought it in a previews order. Total cost with CGC cost was $40 for this book. It's probably gone up a little bit, but last I checked, fair market value in a 9.8 was $80. That's a double return on my investment with a $40 ROI. So happy to know that, being that it's a brand new book. But hey, guys, again, this book is not going anywhere, and I do think this is a book that will be valued. You know, maybe not like a super key, but you know, it'll hold its value over time. And to have it in a 9.8, I'm just extremely happy, regardless. So.
Yeah, congratulations again. It is a great cover swipe. Bishner was definitely in your corner. I just scared the shit out of my pets. Feels like I just got a 9.8. That's outstanding.
That's awesome.
Here's the deal. Bishner called me out. Fresh to death, man. Better be a 9.8. What, Jeff? You don't listen to hip hop? I do listen to hip hop. I'm more into 90s early hip hop. Can you tell me what? I don't know where that's from. I don't. I'm sorry.
You know, I will say sometimes it's hard to pinpoint where these things come from. You know what? It might be a New York or East Coast thing for you. You know, being on a New York, but on top of, or maybe specific parts, because you know I have a lot of Jersey fam, and they're big on fresh to death, and they get that East Coast accent. Oh, kid, that's fresh to death, kid. You know, so. Yeah. I don't know. You know, maybe it's a geography thing, or maybe you just haven't been. I don't know. I don't want to say Jeff. I'm gonna stick up for Jeff. Jeff has not been living under a rock, guys. I'm telling you.
That's definitely not. And another thing, I'm definitely not a lyrical person. I'm a musician myself, and I'm more of a. Yeah, I feel like there's two. Anyways, that's for another completely different show. But
Hey,
Bishner,
I
please
love
let
it
me know
though.
what that's from.
Yeah.
All right, that was our grading segment. That was awesome, Chris. I'm really glad we got to do that. I'm super pumped that you were able to reveal your first 9.8 on this show right here, this episode. Super pumped. So we'll do this again, most likely soon. I may send some CGCs in. Who knows? But right now, we're going to move on to Q&A. And there was an interesting Q&A we had. You guys have been leaving a ton of comments, and it's really hard. It's just me and Chris on this show, so it's really hard to backtrack here. But somebody asked what foxing was. It was actually Kid Collector. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Chris?
Right. So I will recommend doing your own research. Google is a wonderful thing. Whenever you Google something, you gotta not take everything at face value. But when we're talking about comic books, I don't really. It's not about having to check your sources as being credible. So definitely do a Google search. Check out foxing on comic books and dive into what that means more, so you get a better understanding of how to grade your own books. But so foxing, let me what's the book to use here? Was probably the Avengers book. So foxing is where, if you understand the term foxtails and how those little weeds are called foxtails, they could kind of look similar to like maybe like a grain plant, and they call them foxtails because foxes have very thick, furry tails that fluff out. So foxing usually happens on the edges or the edges of the spines. So it's usually where it's not necessarily a rip, but the wear, it's kind of a bit of a rounded wear where all the pages of the inside of the book are coming together, and they start to get wear, and they start kind of foxing out, and you can see them kind of doing this, coming out of the tip of the corner of the book. So that's my personal definition of how to explain foxing. I try to give a little visual representation there of what's going on, but yeah, definitely do some research on that. And I want to say lastly too, for those that really want to get into understanding how to grade, I really recommend Overstreet's Guide to Grading Comics. I found this on Amazon for like 10 or 12 bucks. So it's got some really awesome stuff in there. And hey, also there's a lot of great YouTubers out there that talk about grading and whatnot. So yeah.
Bishner brought up a good point, going back to what we were talking about in terms of Rob Liefeld and Deadpool. Deadpool is definitely not the only awesome character they got with buying Fox. He's arguably the best portrayed in movies, though, as of right now, because they also got X-Men and they got the Fantastic Four. So on top of that, they also got other properties, including The Simpsons, which is now on Disney Plus too. So again, Deadpool is not the center of this deal by any stretch of the imagination, not even close.
Right. Right. And, I want to add to that, like you said, Jeff, it's fun. I understand Rob Liefeld wanting to be, connected to Deadpool as his baby. I get that. But you made a good point to say the Deadpool that we know that basically is Ryan Reynolds was not Rob Liefeld. So I like that you brought that up. And I wanted to bring that up because I think, we got to credit Ryan Reynolds for embodying that spirit of Deadpool. And it wouldn't be the success that it is without those two factors. And you got to really bring in those other creators as well. So,
And we almost didn't get this version of Ryan Reynolds based on Wolverine Origins. Woo!
Right.
Oh my gosh, that could have been a disaster. All right. Bishner, thank you for that. Kid Collector. I love Ranting Rob. It's hilarious to watch. Yeah, it's a little sad at times. Gosh, you guys left so many comments in here. Hey guys, what do you think of the Force Awakens cut? Finn was going to be a Jedi and have Jedi training and falling in love with Rey. I'm not quite sure where that. This is the first I'm hearing of that. Chris, have you heard of this before?
Well, to my knowledge, I don't know about a cut specific to the first film, in the trilogy, but I know that, or I know that I've heard, the rumor is that, yeah, Finn was supposed to be force sensitive, which JJ took back and showed in The Rise of Skywalker, and we saw him being able to, have a little bit of a skill with the lightsaber in The Force Awakens. And, and I think that Ryan Johnson in The Last Jedi really, what was done with Finn was so sad to me, and bringing in Rose as well. Not to go way too off topic, but if you look at how Rose was portrayed, even though she had a small role in The Rise of Skywalker, she was very stern and serious. And even though it was very small, I liked that. And I just bring that up because I feel her like that we saw in the Last Jedi took away from what JJ wanted to do with Finn. So I think to that Star Wars guy's point is that there was a lot to Finn's character that we didn't get to see because JJ wasn't able to handle, or have control of all three films. And what happened with The Last Jedi, it's so disappointing. So I think there's something to that. I think Finn could have been a lot more fleshed out. We know for a fact because of The Rise of Skywalker that Finn was force sensitive. So I do think that there was a lot more to be seen that we probably will never see.
I mean, they teased it with him, he had a lightsaber in his hand. And the only time I can remember a non-Jedi with a lightsaber, I could be wrong here, in terms of the films, was when Han Solo took it and sliced open the Tauntaun to put Luke's body in Empire Strikes Back, right? Is there any other situation where we see a non-Jedi wielding a lightsaber in the films?
Yeah, and you know what? And I just watched them, and you're right. I mean, besides Luke picking one up before he was a Jedi, so you got to look at it. The only ones that even pick them up are the ones that are force sensitive in the first place, like Finn. So yeah, you make a good point that the call for Han cutting that open and warming Luke in the guts was like the only time. Yeah.
All right. Now, the Bad Avenger, Donald Glover was the inspiration for Miles Morales. True, which is also interesting that he also played his uncle in the first Spider-Man film. What is the supervillain he plays in?
The Prowler.
The Prowler, yeah. So hopefully they're making the connections. Hopefully it's in the works and we'll see it soon. I'd love to see Miles in the MCU. Yeah.
This real quick, it brings us back to our discussion about now. I know you brought up the fact that if Sony closes their studios and all those rights go back to Marvel, then that's a whole different ballgame. But when I was talking about Sony holding them on and allowing Tom Holland to fulfill his role as Peter Parker and then have his last act be training this young Miles Morales like 10 years down the road, Donald Glover, 10 years down the road, as the Prowler, as the older uncle. What is he going to be? He's going to be like 45 years old in 10 years, somewhere around there. And he could be the uncle of a fresh 16-year-old Miles Morales coming into the MCU. So, hey.
I love it. Yep. Sign me up. Sign me up for that one. All right, here we go. Before we leave, actually, we have a call to action for you guys next week. Next week,
yes.
We want to see your guys' best flip, right? Hashtag Comic Flip CBC. What this means is you guys either specking on a book and just knowing that you could, turn a few bucks or even improve your collection by turning this in and trading it for a better book. We want to know what your best comic flip was in your whole career in this hobby. So hashtag Comic Flip CBC. Hit us up on Instagram. We'll be sure to post on there and tag that. But we do want to see what your biggest flip was. Chris has some. I have some. Excited to see what you guys all bring to the table. We're also very excited that you guys join us each week and watch us talk about what we love, which is comic books and pop culture. Super happy to have you here. Tonight was an amazing show. Could not keep up with the comments. We really appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, give us a like and also follow us, subscribe to us. We really, really, truly appreciate it. For me, that's the end of the show. Chris, you have any final words?
Yeah. My final words are to Comic Flip CBC. I just want to let everyone know, like, if you flipped a book for cash, and you don't have if you didn't flip a book for a book and you don't have a book to show off your cash. Like, if you just flipped a book and you made like $5,000, throw up your bills, show it off. I'm kind of joking, obviously, but at least tell the story of that flip. It's not just about the picture, it's about the story behind it. So I actually don't advise you to show cash on social media. I was just joking, but we want to know the story behind it all. So I just wanted to say that. And other than that, I did want to say thank you to everyone. I really enjoyed showing off these books, and it was just super fun tonight. So,
all right, more stuff ahead for us. We're going to improve on the show, go bigger and better. We really love doing this each and every week. Once again, for Chris, I'm Jeff. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great week. Take care.
Peace.